The 18 Strong Podcast, episode 134 with Michael Breed from the Golf Fix.
And he goes, "How come you don't talk this way?" And I said, "Because if I talk that way, no one will watch the show. And what I want people to watch the show, and I want to try to do what I can do to grow the game of golf. And 85% of the people that play the game of golf don't take a golf lesson. And I don't want to speak to half of 1% of the audience. I want to speak to 85% of the audience and to try to help them play better golf."
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hello, and welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast. Thank you for joining me this week. If you are a new listener to the show, this is the place where we like to interview some of the greatest experts, coaches, players, and other people inside and outside of the world of golf in order to help empower you to not only play your best golf, but also live a healthier, more fit lifestyle and really to excel in your performance in all areas, which is only going to help you play this game that you love so much for that much longer. And that's why I'm so excited to bring in our special guest today, who is Michael Breed from the Golf Channel. And being the fact that this is Masters Week 2017, we always like to do a bit of a special edition on the week of the Masters. We've had Jim Holtgreave, former Walker Cup captain, who's played in 5 Masters, 4 of those in competition. And we've also had Zach Johnson, former Masters winner 2007. And this year, Michael Breed is our special guest. Michael, if you didn't know, was the Assistant Pro at Augusta National for several years earlier on in his career. So it's great to get some of the stories that he's had from being so involved with the Masters for so long, plus just talking about his history and his love of the game and love for growing the game and everything that he's doing and all the initiatives he's taking in order to stay as busy as he is. You're going to find out that Michael is a very, very busy man, traveling back and forth, doing all kinds of things, all for the love of growing the game. So I'm so excited to bring him on and share this conversation with you. Before I do that, I'm very excited to thank one of our new sponsors of the show. And this episode is sponsored by the PGA Tour app. And I'm assuming you're a golf fan. I'm assuming you follow the PGA Tour. If you haven't used the new PGA Tour mobile app on your phone, this thing is awesome. It's basically the way that I keep track of what's going on a daily basis when the tournaments are going on. It's been completely redesigned from the ground up. So there's a lot of different functions and features that it didn't have before. So I was just kind of browsing through it and looking through this week's tournament with the Shell Houston Open and was going through Ricky Fowler's score. It's even got little video clips of different holes, different featured holes. You can follow along with live video, which is pretty much typically how I watch golf on the weekends. We got rid of cable a long time ago, and so I typically watch it via the PGA Tour app when I'm outside or on the run or even gone running errands or whatever. So this thing has been great for me. The other cool thing is that each tournament has its own course map. So you can go there by going in and clicking the course button, and you can view a visual layout of each hole. And then there's even a shot trails feature where you can see where each player hit each of their different shots. And if you're just looking to keep up with some of the other tours, you can check the leaderboards for those. And there's a lot of other great features that I'm sure that I'm missing, and I'm going to find out as I continue to scroll through the app. But you can get it on your iPad, iPhone, Android device. So if you are a golf fan and you want to keep up with the PGA Tour and what's going on there, all the golf news, just go and grab your app and you're ready to go. All right, let's get into our special edition guest, Michael Breed, for the 2017 Masters edition of the 18 Strong Podcast. Michael Breed, welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, and thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Pleasure to be with you, Jeff. I look forward to it.
Well, I think most of our listeners obviously know you from the Golf Channel and the Golf Fix, and I'd like for you to maybe give us a little idea. First of all, what does your regular teaching schedule look like? Are you still working with golfers on a regular basis, or is it all on the show, all on the Golf Fix? What does that look like?
So I have a bunch of different jobs. One of my jobs is I do the Golf Fix. I also have a radio show that I do with Sirius XM Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings. And then I have an academy at Trump Golf Links at Ferry Point, which is a new public golf course that's co-op between the Trump organization and the city of New York. It's an old landfill that Nicholas came along and did some work with. They've been working on trying to do something with it for about 20 years under the Giuliani administration, believe it or not. Hadn't been able to get it done. They approached Mr. Trump to see whether or not he would want to be a part of it. He agreed to do it, and he got it done in a 2-year span. It was unbelievable. And it is a phenomenal golf course, and I think will end up hosting a major championship, whether it's a PGA or U.S. Open, not really sure, but it's public. It has all the things that you want to host a tournament on. It's got all the length that you want. It's got wind. It's got parking. It's got great viewership. It's 15 miles from the island of Manhattan. It's close to both Long Island and the city, as well as Connecticut and New Jersey, so it will draw very well. And it's a really, really good golf course. So I think it's going to be there. I've been fortunate enough to have my academy there now starting our 3rd year. And so I basically don't have any time off. It's just one job. I just go from one job to the next.
So where are you? Are you in Florida now, and then you travel back to New York?
No. So I go to Florida on a Sunday night, go down, shoot the show Monday, fly back up Monday, and then I'll either get a Tuesday, what we would call a Tuesday off. Doesn't happen a lot, but I have the radio show, so you're never really off. So I'll get a Tuesday afternoon free, and then I'll work all the way through. I'll typically have Saturday where I'll try to play a little golf with my wife and do some things with the boys. I've got 2 boys. And then Sunday I head back down to Florida again.
How do you keep up?
Breathe in, breathe out. That's the way I try to do. No, you know what, Jeff? And you know this. Life is all about perspective. And when you wake up in the morning and you go, man, this is exactly what I prayed for. This is what I wanted to try to do. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do it. I don't know how long I'll be doing it for, because, you never know when the flavor of the month is no longer the flavor of the month. But at this point now, I'm very fortunate. And so I always remind myself that there are people that don't have jobs, and there are people that are battling cancer or some sort of a disease. And I happen to be doing what when I was 22 years of age, what I dreamed of doing. And when you're doing what you dreamed of doing, how could you ever complain about the fact that you got exactly what you wanted? So I think life is about perspective, and for me, I always have it in perspective.
That's such a great way to look at it. Do you take any extended time off at all, or is it like this, 52 weeks out of the year?
I'm not a great vacator, and in order for you to take vacation, you have to be a good vacator. Right. I can't vacate, and so the answer is it's pretty much like this all year round. The academy is only open 6 months a year, so that does give me a little downtime. But what I tend to do in my downtime is do stuff like this. I do a lot of radio shows. I'm involved with all kinds of different entrepreneurial adventures, and I'm constantly coming up with new stuff. So it seems like I'm always adding to my plate. I'm never really taking stuff off of my plate. So it seems to always be busy.
That's funny. I kind of know how that goes exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
Well, give us a little background, because we all know you as being on the Golf Fix and the radio show. But take us back to your early years when you started out as a teaching professional. Obviously, this is the Masters edition of the 18 Strong podcast, so we want to talk about your time at Augusta. But
sure.
What did that look like coming up, and then how did you get to where you are today?
So I was a baseball player growing up, and played baseball into high school, and then for a short period of time in college, and really kind of went to college with the idea that I was going to discover whether I was going to play baseball or golf. And I turned out, I went to a place called Randolph-Macon College, which is a small liberal arts college in Virginia. And it's a Division II baseball program, or was, and it was a Division III golf program. And in the fall of my freshman year, I played on both the varsity golf team and the varsity baseball team. And you can do that at that Division III level because, and particularly back when I was doing this, is going into the early 80s, there wasn't you have to be at practice at a certain time or whatever. So I could play in the fall. The fall golf schedule was really short. You kind of practiced when you wanted to, and you would go out and play. And we didn't have a lot of depth on the golf team, so I could go out and shoot 80 and be in the top 5. But I was pretty much going to baseball practice every day, and I'd take one day off of the baseball practice and go and play, in a golf tournament or go practice or do whatever. So, and believe it or not, I actually played a couple of varsity tennis matches as well because they didn't have anybody to play the tennis. They couldn't fill the team. And so some guys knew that I had played some tennis growing up, and they went, we'll do that. So believe it or not, in the fall of my freshman year, I played 4 varsity baseball games, 4 varsity golf tournaments, and 2 varsity tennis matches, which was kind of crazy. I guess that's how I operate. I have to be doing everything. I can't be doing just one thing.
I'm getting a theme here.
You get that?
Yeah.
So I did that. Then I switched to golf full time. And when you play Division III golf, and particularly when you get into golf kind of late, you can be very good, but not be very good. So I can do really good in the Division III programs, but there's Division II, Division I, Division I AA, and you don't know how good you are. And so what I found out was I was pretty good, but I wasn't good enough. And so I kind of played some golf and played pretty good golf, but I just, I wasn't as good as the other people that were playing. And I figured out, fortunately early for me, only after a year, you're not good enough. And then I went, okay, I'm going to figure out how to help people. I want to be a golfer. I was not going to wear a coat and tie. That was sort of my philosophy, right? So I went, okay, I'm gonna get into golf, and then I quickly figured out that what I really wanted to do was I wanted to help people. That was kind of philosophically my mindset was I wanted my life to matter, and the only way that I could figure out how to make my life matter was to teach, because I felt like I was doing something to help people enjoy golf, maybe having an influence on relationships between parents and children. And so I really got into it, and I got way into it, and kind of had some great fortune and met some really good people along the way who took an interest in me. And, some doors opened that don't open for others that for some reason opened for me. And I was able to take advantage of it. And, here I sit now at the Crescendo talking with you on 18 Strong.
That's exactly what this is, the Crescendo. So
right.
Tell me, when you got the opportunity to go work at Augusta, first of all, as a golfer, knowing that that's the mecca of all golf, what was that like, finding out that first you might have the opportunity, and then second, finding out that you got that opportunity?
So it's an interesting story. So I'll kind of answer it a little long-winded. I worked with a guy in a job at a 9-hole club in Westport, Connecticut that you've never heard of. And this guy was a college kid who got into school at Furman, went and played at Furman. His roommate was a guy named Steven Spencer, and Steven's father was one of the co-professionals at Augusta National. So I went, and not knowing all this, I went to Furman to hang out with this guy's name was Larry Tedesco. I went to Furman to hang out with Larry for a couple of days, play some golf on my way to Florida. Met Steven. We became friends. He said, hey, my dad does this, and would you want to come and work the Masters tournament? And I said, sure. And so sure enough, I got invited to go work the tournament, which was, again, this is sort of a you got to be kidding me kind of experience, right? So I go and work the tournament, and I'm down there for 3 weeks. I'm down there 2 weeks before the tournament, and then the week of the tournament. And about the 4th or 5th day of the tournament, of the time that I'm down there, one of the members at Augusta National gets sick and can't play with 3 guests that he's invited down to come play. And so they ask me to go and fill in that group. So now you're going, you got to be kidding me, right? So that one happens. And then I go out and shoot 68 and go, you got to be kidding me. And then the member who'd been following it around, went into the pro shop and spoke to my boss and basically complimented me on how, not that I played great, but that I handled his guests the way he would have hoped that somebody would have handled their guests. And he walked in and he basically complimented the head pro on his ability to hire his assistants. And all of a sudden, right. You can't make it up. I mean, honestly, you can't make it up. And so then about a month and a half later, I get a phone call from David Spencer. Somebody is leaving, an assistant is leaving Augusta National, and would I like to come down there and be an assistant? And I kind of went, okay, sure. Why wouldn't you? And honestly, it's just, these are the doors that kind of open, that it's just a fluke. I mean, it was a fluke. And it was an amazing experience. 3 of the most memorable years of my life. I ended up working 3 full years as an assistant, and I worked 13 tournaments. So I continued to go back and help the tournament program up until about 2001. And then I just couldn't do it anymore. It just got so busy, so hectic for me that I couldn't do it. I got a head pro job. And I was doing that. And then I got another head pro job from that head pro job. And it was just, the balance was too difficult.
That's what I was just going to ask. What was the opportunity that then took you away from Augusta? And was that a difficult decision? I
got this job at a place called Sunningdale Country Club. And it was, I was managing a staff, and I had 18 holes, and I was very, very busy teaching. I had just been named the Teacher of the Year in the Metropolitan PGA section. And obviously, when that happens, people want to take lessons with you, and all of a sudden you say to them, listen, I'm going to be gone 10 days. And their response is, well, you're our head golf professional. And at some point you go, okay, I have a responsibility now to this club. And so I must do what I must do. And yeah, it was a difficult decision, but it wasn't incredibly difficult, because I know that, that's my responsibility now. I'm a full-time head golf professional at this club. It's a highly respected and very, very great membership, great course, great club, great section, great everything. And this is my responsibility. I've got to go do that.
Throughout your entire career, is there somebody or maybe an experience that you had that you would say was really influential in taking you down this path?
Taking me down the path of what I'm doing now, or taking me down the path of teaching golf?
A little bit of both. Either one.
So the answer is yes. There's not one person. There's a variety of people. And believe it or not, there are people that you learn great things from, and there are people that you learn how you don't want to be. And so for me, I have always approached every situation as it's a learning opportunity for me. And whether it's, this is how I want to behave, or this is how I don't want to behave, it's still a learning opportunity. This is how I'm going to treat my assistants. This is how I'm not going to treat my assistants. And so the answer is, yeah, there have been a lot of people that have influenced me. Some have been influenced in a great way. Some have been influenced in a bad way. And what I can tell you is that primarily my parents influenced me. My father particularly influenced me in a very sort of creative way, where he said, listen, there's always going to be somebody that's got it better than you do, and there's always going to be somebody that has it worse than you do. So don't pound your chest when you do something great, and don't lament when you do something poorly. I was also heavily influenced by a guy that you wouldn't even know, who taught me that if you didn't earn it, then you don't want it. I was one of those people that always believed that I would outwork everybody, that when it rained, I went and practiced for a longer period of time, because I felt like other people were sitting in their house not practicing when it rained, and I was gaining on them. I'll show you something that I carry with me. I don't know whether you can see this or not, but you see this right there? It's a little coin, and it says, as you think, so you become. And I've carried this coin with me after attending a seminar in 1986. And it basically said that the way you look at life is the way life is going to treat you. So I've always thought that I was the luckiest person in the world. And sure, it turns out I'm the luckiest person in the world. And I keep telling myself that. I'll show you this in my office. That is just some of the books that I have in here. But if you can see this right here, all these books by John Maxwell. Can you see those books by John Maxwell?
I can. Yep.
Those books right there are books that have influenced me. I've never met the guy, but those books have influenced me. Daryl Kessner, who was a mentor of mine that I worked for at Deepdale, when I left Augusta National, I went to go work for Daryl to teach for him at Deepdale. That had an amazing effect on me, how to treat people, how to teach people, the passion. It was an instrumental part in my life. Obviously, working at Augusta National, Dave Spencer, Bob Kletke, all those people have had major influences in my life. So I've been really fortunate. I've always, started with my dad and others who taught me that one of the things my dad said to me too is, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, do the math. And I kind of basically said, listen before you speak, and you're going to learn a lot. And then the other thing that was really important for my life was I'm dyslexic. Now, dyslexia is something that a lot of people talk about but don't really know a lot about. But basically, it's sort of a learning disability. And the word disability is poorly used for me because I look at it as an advantage. I learn differently than everybody else. And it makes it difficult for me to read because in reading, I mix up letters and I mix up words. And sometimes even if I'm reading a book, I'll just jump a paragraph or even a page inexplicably. And I didn't know, I just thought that was the way I was, that, I'm just lazy. But turns out I'm not lazy, that this is part of what dyslexia is all about. But that was one of the best things to ever happen for me because it taught me that people learn differently, and it also allowed me to believe that people weren't stupid, that I was stupid if I wasn't able to present information to people in a way that they were able to comprehend it. And so then, did some studying about people that had dyslexia. The guy that started JetBlue, which is, revolutionized television on an airplane, much less air travel. He had dyslexia. And there's a host of people that have been, given the gift of dyslexia. And I'm just one of those people. So all that stuff kind of has been involved in how I view the world, the way I view the world, and do the things that I do.
I love that. I love the coin that you carry, that as you think, so shall you become.
Yep.
And the listeners of the show know that, half the time we kind of preach on the personal development side of things on here, which whether you're into it or not, that's definitely a big part of what I feel is a major piece of how you grow, how you continue to make yourself better, whatever you're doing, golf, business.
I've never seen successful people think poorly. Tiger Woods was one of the greatest golfers ever to live because he thought well. And he would come up to a ball in a divot and he would say, okay, this is going to be fun. He would never go, oh man, I got hosed again. And the people that don't achieve, they look at a circumstance. It's one of my favorite stories that when I do a lot of seminars, I do a lot of speaking seminars. And one of my favorite stories is about the 2 shoe salesmen that went to the island of 10,000 people and there were no shoes worn by anybody on the island. And one shoe salesman calls his boss when he's down there and he says, there's 10,000 people down here and nobody has any shoes. I'm never going to sell a pair of shoes. I got to get out of here. And the other shoe salesman calls his boss and says, there's 10,000 people down here. Not a single person has a pair of shoes. This is a target-rich environment. Send shoes, and I'm going to be down here for a long time.
Right.
And it's the same situation. It's just how you look at it. And I just look at successful people, and they all think well. In fact, one of the books in my library is Thinking for a Change by Maxwell. And if you haven't read that book, you ought to. But basically what he did was he went and found the smartest, most successful people and found out how they think and wrote a book about how successful. Basically, the book could have been How Successful People Think instead of Thinking for a Change. And so when you realize this is how the most successful people think, all you have to do is think this way and you'll be successful. That's pretty easy because we can all think better. So
it's funny how I continue to see this theme over and over and over again with the different professionals I talk to, you know, the different experts in different fields. And a lot of it boils down to exactly this. I want to jump back to kind of the Masters themes here a little bit and see if you have one or maybe even two of your favorite memories from either the tournament itself or just, you know, being there on the premises kind of during tournament time.
So, yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for 5 hours.
I would imagine.
I have had great fortune. One of my most memorable experiences was playing golf with Raymond Floyd. And it was late January of 91, which was the year that I believe, or maybe it was 90, was the year that he lost in a playoff to Nick Faldo. And he hit a ball in the water on the 11th hole and subsequently lost that tournament. But I played golf with him in that January, and it was incredibly memorable for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons was we stood on the first tee, and he said, "Let's you and I have a $5 Nassau." And I said, "Okay, great." And he said, "We'll play straight up." And I said, "Mr. Floyd, with all due respect, 4 years ago, you won the National Open. I am an assistant golf professional at Augusta National and never have played in a U.S. Open. And you think I'm going to play you even up? I don't like my chances. And, oh, by the way, $5 to you means a lot less than $5 to me. So how about I get some strokes?" And he goes, "Okay, I'll give you 2 strokes on the front side, and we'll adjust if we have to." So, okay. So we go out and play, and we come to the 9th hole, and I am 2 under par and 2 up on him, and I have a 6-foot putt for birdie just under the hole coming at about 430. And he has a putt from behind the hole of about 20 feet for birdie. He makes his 20-footer. He's supposed to exit the green. Number 10 is back at 12 o'clock. He's supposed to exit to 12 o'clock. He walks right up to me at 4:30 as I'm putting my ball down, and he goes, "Enjoy your putt." So I realize this is really important to him. And I make my putt. So I shoot 3 under. He shoots 2 under, and I'm 2 up. And he goes, "You get 1 shot on the backside," which happened to come on number 10. Anyway, long story short, I shot 68. He shot 64, and he birdied 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18 to beat me for $5, which he took. But the coolest part was he sent me a note afterwards. Literally, I got it 3 days afterwards, telling me what a great time he had, how much he enjoyed being with me, what a fine player I was, and with a picture of he and I kind of during the course of play, which he obviously brought the camera, and he obviously had his caddy take the picture, which was really, really cool. And he continued to stay in touch with me and follow my career through the course of my time. Even when I had taken a second head professional job, he had known that I had taken a second head professional job. It was phenomenal. And that experience was obviously another one of those things where you go, this is how I want to be, right? So that was really fun. I played a lot of golf there with a lot of different people. The other most memorable situation that occurred was I was going out to go play with some members, And we were going off the first hole, and Jack Nicklaus was coming off of 18 green just as we were going to the first tee. And so the members had all hit their tee shots, and now it was my turn to hit. And Mr. Nicklaus had gone off the back nine first, and now he was going to follow us this 9 holes. And I'm standing on that first tee thinking literally this to myself. Honestly, I thought, I'm standing on the first tee at Augusta National, which I'm hitting a shot at Augusta National, which you can't believe. And on this same tee is Jack Nicklaus, which you can't believe. And I'm standing over that within my mind, and I thought to myself, he will never remember this situation, and I will never forget it. And I hit a perfect little draw right off the bunker that went into the fairway, and he made a nice comment. But that was an unforgettable circumstance and situation. And those are just some of them. But what I can tell you is the most memorable experiences for me are really one philosophical thing, and that is that at Augusta National, nobody's having a bad day. The only time anybody has a bad day at Augusta National is actually during Masters tournament. And it's a player who doesn't shoot the score that they want to shoot. But absent of that, everybody that comes to play Augusta National, member or guest, patron, whatever, everybody has a great day. They all have a smile on their face. That is how that place is so different from every other place, because nobody's having a bad day. And that reminded me, and it is something that I'm reminded of on a daily basis, where I approach my life this way. If I am fortunate enough to be laying on a deathbed with my wits about me, knowing that I'm going to die, and able to think and reflect upon my life, what I know that I will never do is wish for more bad days. I'll always wish for more good days. And so that being the case, I always approach every day as this is going to be the greatest day. And so I have a great attitude every single day. I never have a bad attitude on any day because of that experience at Augusta National, and knowing that how I want to live my life and how rare each day is, and how rare each day it was at Augusta National.
That's so powerful and so inspiring. I mean, to look at every situation, everything as an opportunity, like you said, something to learn from, whether good or bad. You can take the best out of it and move forward, or get rid of the bad stuff and try to push forward. Let's take just a quick break here to thank our sponsor, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this year's Masters tournament. Let's face it, we all want a little bit more speed and a lot more distance on our drives, and the best way that I know how to do that is by using the Super Speed Golf Overspeed Training System. It's the system we've been talking about for a long time here on the 18 Strong podcast, and we've had them on the show. Basically, it's a set of 3 clubs of slightly different weights. One is about the weight of your driver, one is slightly heavier, one is slightly lighter, and it's a way to teach your body how to swing faster and really to create some more balance amongst your body. You swing left-handed, swing right-handed with different protocols in order to kind of progress you from where you are right now, depending on your fitness level. You can tie it in with your fitness program, and it's meant to take you from where you are and teach your body, teach your brain, and teach your neurological system that you have the capability to swing faster. And it's not just hype, it's not just stories. There are junior golfers up to the PGA pros. In fact, there's a lot of PGA pros that are using this system. So if you want more information on the Super Speed Golf Overspeed Training System, just go to superspeedgolf.com. You can check out all the information. Use the code 18strong to get your discount. You can also go to 18strong.com/superspeed and check out some videos that we did when we went up to Chicago to visit with the guys there. All right, let's get back to our special guest, Michael Breed, and let's talk about the Masters. As far as, and I'm sure you could tell us 10, 20, 30 more stories about some amazing experiences at Augusta, but let's talk about the upcoming tournament this next week. Who are some of your favorites, and who are a couple of your long shots?
So Brilliant. So here's what I would tell you. My favorites are everybody's favorites. So Rory, DJ, Phil, Jordan. Jason Day, to me, is questionable just because of his family, what's going on with his mother and all that. So those are my four favorites. John Rahm, to me, is a favorite, but he's a dark horse favorite because there's only been one in my opinion, there's only been one person to win on their first time there, absent of Horton Smith, who won the first, and Gene Sarazen, who won his first. That was 1934 and 1935. So that's just kind of getting going. Fuzzy Zeller won in 1979, and that was his first time being there. And he won that in a playoff. So you look at John Rahm, and look, everybody is well aware of the golf course, much more so in 2017 than they were in 1979 because of the coverage in the game and all that other stuff, right? And to that end, the relationship that John Rahm has with Phil Mickelson, Tim Mickelson, and all the players on tour who have played, he has no doubt gotten a lot of insight. But still at that point, and with that all considered, I think still he's a dark horse to me. My real dark horses that I have, and I've written these down, are Bill Haas is a dark horse for me. And one of the reasons why, when I look at people who I think are going to have a great chance there, I look at people who have high birdie averages on the PGA Tour, people who have good scrambling statistics, good putting statistics. And with the influence of the Haas family, and specifically the Harmon family within the Haas family, right? So Butch and Billy Harmon, his father, all that stuff. I kind of feel like Bill is a very good dark horse, and he happens to be playing pretty well. So he's one of the people who I think will have a very good chance. I think Tyrrell Hatton is going to be a guy that is going to do well. He is now. These are all very difficult. When you start looking at statistics, you start looking at. I look at statistics, and I look at statistic based on rounds played. He's played 12 rounds on the PGA Tour, right? So it's not a great sample size, but he's number one in strokes gained putting, which is really important. He is a very talented scrambler. He hits a ton of fairways. He is very high up in strokes gained tee to green, and he hits a lot of quality shots. So that's a guy who I think has a very good chance. I think Sergio Garcia has a very good chance, just because he's such a good player, and he hasn't. Will he win? Winning is a very difficult thing, and I think he's found some success with his putter, and I think he's won recently, and I say recently within the last couple of years he's won. So to me, winning is big. But he's on there, and so I kind of like those guys, and I think that when I go into a dark horse, I think Kevin Kisner is a dark horse for me. Very good ball striker, very familiar with the area. It's almost a home game for him. And Justin Thomas, who hits the ball very high, has good control over the golf ball. And a lot of this stuff for me is, can you handle the moment? And that kid can handle moments. So, I kind of feel like if he's in that situation, I don't think he will back down or balk at it. So those are kind of the people that I don't know are on everybody's radar.
Yeah, it seems like this is going to be, and they're always so much fun to watch. But you got guys like Spieth, who obviously most likely wants to come back and really prove something. You've got Rory, who wants the green jacket just as bad as anyone. So a lot of guys like that. And then, you see like a John Rahm and a Justin Thomas and these guys coming up. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be
Phil Mickelson is having a phenomenal putting year. He's 8th on tour in putting. He's doing Jordan Spieth is leading the tour in greens and regulation and his approach shots. So I just kind of think everybody, it's really, the fun part is, absent of Jason Day, everybody that you think is going to have a chance, like your leaders, they're all playing really well. Now, part of it will be what the weather is. If it's cold, if you get a bad tee time early in the morning, right? That's stuff that you kind of go, okay, we'll see what happens. But if those guys are in position on Saturday and they're all kind of playing together, it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. All right, we have a couple questions that some of the people in our private Facebook group wanted to ask you when I told them that you were coming on the show. And one of the ones that I thought was really intriguing was, you're with your show, The Golf Fix. Yeah. You're in front of all of us so often. And do you find that, because there's always going to be scrutiny amongst instructors, do you find that you're scrutinized more so because you're in our sites all the time versus someone who only works with the tour professionals, things like that? I just thought that was interesting because being in the limelight, there's good and bad to both of it.
So one of the guys who's been a mentor, though I never met him, was John Wooden. And John Wooden basically said, take all the accolades and all the detractions and put them in the same bucket and then throw the bucket away. So, and that's not what he said. That's just kind of how he said it, right? That's what I interpreted how he said it. But so the way everything is all about how you view it. There are people that are going to like me and there are people that are not going to like me. And the way I view all this stuff is if my wife thinks I'm an idiot, I got a problem. If some guy in Dothan, Alabama or Boulder, Colorado thinks I'm an idiot, okay. Yeah, I'm still going to get up. I'm still going to eat. I'm still going to have a job. So I'm okay with all that. I do think that people are going to think that I'm not as smart as some of the other coaches because of the way I present my material. And one of my favorite compliments I ever got was from a guy named David Orr. I don't know if you know David Orr or not, but David is a really smart guy. He's worked with a lot of guys on tour and putting, notably Hunter Mahan, Justin Rose. Those are just a few of the guys that he's worked with. And he's down at Campbell University. He heads up sort of all their PGM program. Really good guy, and a guy that would be a guy that I would have on your podcast. But we're doing an infomercial together, and we're sitting down at a country club eating lunch at where we're shooting the infomercial. And he turns to me after about 20 minutes, and he goes, you're a lot smarter than I thought you were. And I said, thank you. And he goes, how come you don't talk this way? And I said, because if I talk that way, no one will watch the show. And what I want people to watch the show, and I want to try to do what I can do to grow the game of golf. And 85% of the people that play the game of golf don't take a golf lesson. And I don't want to speak to half of 1% of the audience. I want to speak to 85% of the audience and try to help them play better golf. And so what I do is I present material on how somebody can hit a golf ball where they're looking in a what seems like simplistic way, and that's why I have the brand of Let's Do This, because what I want people to do is look at it like, you know what, golf isn't that hard. Golf can be easy. And so that's what I want. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. In fact, one of Einstein's great lines, he was asked the question of, how did you know when you had it figured out? And he said, when I could explain, he lived in Princeton, New Jersey. Think about the audience that he could speak to at Princeton. He said, when I could explain what I wanted to explain to my 8-year-old next door neighbor, then I knew that I was on to what I wanted to do and she could understand it. And so for me, all the research says when you present material at a third grade level. And that's why that show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Nobody wins, because you got to be smarter than a third grader, right? So I present my material in a way that is understandable, is fun, is entertaining, is approachable, because what I want people to do is I want people to think of, that's my coach, and he's a funny guy, and he's a good guy, and he's a normal guy, and he's not speaking above me. And at that point, I've been doing the show for 9 years, so I go, you know what? This recipe seems to have worked. So if somebody thinks that, it doesn't bother me. Now, I am out there, but I'm out there, I come at it from a standpoint of how I look at it. I'm trying to grow the game of golf. So for me, the audience I'm trying to get to is the 25 handicapper who isn't going to take a golf lesson, who's going to look at me and go, man, I understand that. I can do that now. That's who I care about. The other cool thing about my job that your viewers don't know is that I get emails from people that say things like this. This was an email that I got in my very first year. Comes from a guy who's 58 years of age. He just lost his job. He's got 2 girls in college who he hasn't been able to find a job for 6 months. And he had to take his daughters, both of them, out of college and send them to a community college. And he had to resign from his club. And he had to stop hitting golf balls. And his self-worth is as low as it can possibly be because he's letting his family down. And he sends me an email and he says, Michael, the hour that I watch you and the subsequent hour that I go into my garage and hit balls against the wall are the 2 hours that I escape the realities of my life. And it's the 2 hours where I feel like I've got some self-worth. And I want you to know that you're doing way more than just giving a golf lesson. You're motivating people who are struggling with whatever they're struggling with. And I've gotten not that exact one, but I've gotten that a lot. And I've gotten people that are battling cancer or some other thing. I've gotten people that have dyslexia, or their son has dyslexia, or their daughter has dyslexia, and how I'm motivating and helping them to. And you know what? That has way more impact and power to me than the guy that thinks that I'm not smart enough about what I'm doing when it comes to a lesson. I mean, right?
Absolutely. And I know that it's hard, when you get the negative critiques, and I would assume, now that you've been doing this for such a long time, that at first maybe it was a little tough, but when you get an email like that or something like that, it's amazing how that, I would assume, just outweighs it 100%.
And I will tell you that the only time, look, there are people that say things on social media that they don't want to say. And that happens. And the only time that I'll confront that person is if they are a golf professional. And so you asked me a question a while ago about who had the greatest influences on me. One of the greatest influences was a class I took in college called Coaching Basketball. And coaching basketball doesn't seem like it's going to be a class that you would take to really try to. But as somebody that, is a coach now, it had a profound effect on me. And one of the things that this guy said was he was trying to make sure that his players wouldn't behave poorly off the court. And by the way, I don't know if you follow the NCAA, but one of his players is a guy named Greg Marshall, who happens to be coaching Wichita. And you may be aware of that Wichita team, but Greg Marshall went to school with me at Randolph-Macon and played on the basketball team and was influenced by this one individual. His name is Hal Nunley. But Hal Nunley was trying to come up with a way to get his players to perform properly off the off the basketball court. And his sort of thing that he handed his players at the start of the year when he first started coaching was a one-page thing. Don't stay out after midnight. Make sure you keep your grades up, blah, blah, blah. But every year somebody would do something that he would have to add to his page. And eventually he had literally a book. And so one summer he sat down with the sole purpose of taking this book and because as you hand somebody a book, they're not going to read the book.
Right.
So he wanted to come up with a very small version of what he was going to do to get his players to behave properly off the court. And he came up with this. He never had to have a paper or anything. He wrote it on the chalkboard. Don't embarrass the program. And then what he did was he wrote that on the board, And then he asked everybody who was in their program. So I'll ask you, you'll play the game with me. Who's in your program?
In my program?
Who's in your program?
Fitness professionals, medical professionals, my family, the people I surround myself with.
Keep going.
I would say it kind of extends to everybody that I interact with and connect with.
The game of golf?
Yeah.
The schools that you went to? The St. Louis? The area that you grew up in? Everything. The people that you influence. They're now part of your program. Not just my program is enormous. And when you start thinking about don't embarrass the program, you're talking about your high school. You're talking about people that played whatever sports that you played in high school, the sports that you played in college, the things that you did in college, your college, the people that you're helping. It's enormous. And so when I give presentations to juniors or I give presentations to high net worth corporations, I start with don't embarrass the program. Now, here's the deal. The way it's, if you were caught doing what you were doing, whatever it is that you're doing, if you were caught doing what you were doing, would it embarrass the program? And if it would embarrass the program, don't do it. And it's a really simple way to live life. So, for instance, if you're out at 3:30 in the morning and you're getting drunk and you were caught doing that, would that embarrass the program? Yeah. Okay, don't do it. And it makes life so much easier to live. Don't embarrass the program. And so, for me, don't embarrass the program. My program is Golf Channel. My program is everybody on all of the personalities on Golf Channel. Sirius XM, all those personalities. Everything. It's a really simple way to live life.
I love it. The simplicity really does resound. So great. All right, I could sit and ask you questions upon questions.
Go, I got time
here, Michael. All right, so I had another one here from one of our members regarding your show. So on the show, you give so many different tips and lessons and tricks. What's the best way for someone to take that in without getting kind of information overload?
So here's what I would say. What I would say is, one, part of the show is to help people play good golf. Part of the show is to entertain you. I want you to laugh when you watch the show. So that doesn't always mean that what I'm telling you is applicable to you. But what I am trying to teach people on the show, too, is that there is a reason why the ball did what the ball did. And if you can understand based on, okay, look at what the ball did, then understand how the club face and the path are going to interact with that, and then what your body does to make that do that, then take the information that I've presented and go out and put it to use. So if you're finding that you want to hit the ball a little bit farther, well, okay, let's understand what we're doing with the club face. The second thing is understand that it is about skill acquisition. Life is about skill acquisition. And so in order for you to be accomplished in what you do, it didn't take a day. It didn't take a month. It didn't take a year. It took a length of time. You got better at what you did, and your craft you improved at. And this is applicable to anything. Learn the piano, learn how to dance, learn to run a company, whatever. It takes a period of time. The problem that people have is they want to take a tip and they want to go out and they want to play great golf tomorrow. And that's not what happens. The first thing that happens is what I tell you has to make sense. The second thing that happens is you have to go and you have to use it and see if it does assist you with improving your shot shape or your distance or whatever in one motion. And then if it does, then develop the skill to own it. And that's the thing that I want people to take away from the show. And that's sort of the word that everybody kind of doesn't want to use in our game is practice. The other one is work. And the other one is hard work. Nobody wants hard work. Nobody wants work and nobody wants practice. But we all know that the people that are successful practiced, worked, and worked hard. That's how they got there. And so for me, what I want everybody to take away is that you have to practice it, you have to work at it, you have to work hard at it for it to become a skill.
Yeah, we're very much in a I want it now society these days.
Absolutely.
And just like the fitness world, getting in shape, losing weight, playing better golf, all of it takes time after time, step after step, like you said earlier on. All right, I'm going to finish up with a few closing questions here.
Go.
I'm sure the audience is very excited to hear your answer on this one.
Okay.
Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Caddyshack. It's not even close.
I had a feeling you'd sway that way for sure.
You bet.
All right, if you had a chance to play 18 holes of golf with anyone in the world, past, present, future, who would it be and where would you play?
I'd play with my father at Augusta National, and it would be 1989. That was when that golf course, in my opinion, was the best. My dad died of Alzheimer's at the age of 67 in 2001, and when you have Alzheimer's, you die before you die. So my dad died when he was probably 58. And I would not trade it. I had the best dad ever, and I only got him for the years that I got him, which he was 28 when I was born, so I had him for 30 years. And you know what? I wouldn't trade it. A lot of people, you don't get to choose your parents. You don't get to choose your father. You don't get to choose your children. And if your parents, you would choose, if you had a choice, then you were blessed. I was blessed.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. If you were like a baseball player or a fighter walking to the ring, what would your walk-up song be to that first tee at Augusta National?
Wow. That's a good one. Okay, I'm going to have to come back to that one. I'm going to have to let that one run because I'm a Springsteen guy. I'm a Luther Vandross guy. I'm also a country music guy. So my musical tastes are a little different. I would say if I was going to go with Springsteen, She's the One would probably be the one that I would go with. If I was going with Luther, I would say She Loves Me Back. And that's a good question. I probably would have to come back with that, but it would definitely be a feel good. It would definitely be a feel good song, no doubt. It would not be rap music. I would not have a rap song.
No rap, no hip hop. All right.
No.
If you have another one, just shoot it to me. We'll put an addendum in the show notes.
I will. You know what I'll do? I'm going to think about that so I can come back on the next one. I'd love to come back again and answer that question better. I'll be prepared for that one.
That's fine.
All right, go ahead.
I grew up with a lot of Luther Vandross in my house, so I can appreciate
Love
whatever you
Luther.
Throw at me.
What a lot of people don't know is Luther was part of a group called Change before he broke out on his own. And I started listening to Luther when he was with that group. So,
love it.
You bet.
All right. What has you most excited with the upcoming golf season? Just everything that you have going on with the Golf Academy, the Golf Fix, the radio show, everything.
So I'll tell you what has me enthused. And I'm sure you get this. I'm always enthusiastic, right? So what has me more enthused is this. Rounds of golf across the country to date are up 5%. And in the South, rounds are up 15%. Now, there are a lot of people that think that golf's too hard, that golf costs too much money, and it takes too much time, which I think are all excuses. And I think we so oftentimes back into those excuses when we're trying to figure out why people aren't playing the game. And now all of a sudden people are playing the game. Has golf gotten easier? Has it gotten faster? Has it got doubtful? What's happened is that golf is a great sport, and it's a great sport for a lifetime. And it's an outdoor sport, so which means sometimes you get bad weather, whatever, right? There's a lot of reasons why people can or can't play golf, but the passion of the game never wanes. And what I love is that what now is happening is all of a sudden rounds are up. And it could be that rounds are up because Jordan Spieth is playing great, or Dustin Johnson is playing great. And it could be rounds are up because we're talking about rounds. Like when we're talking about golf, that's good for the game. It could be rounds are up because more people are watching the Golf Fix. It could be rounds are up because, they stopped wanting to maybe people are getting older, right? Maybe we're having whatever, but rounds are up. And that I get excited about that because I take it as a personal shot. I really do when people start telling me why golf is struggling. The other thing that people will say is, they take shots at handicaps haven't changed. People are still shooting the same scores, right? And my response to them is golf's hard. And by the way, when you lengthen golf courses out as you've done, what that means is, in fact, people have gotten better. Golf courses have gotten harder. But they don't want to say golf courses have gotten harder. The fact that handicaps have stayed the same means that players have gotten better because golf courses have gotten harder. And so for me, that's another shot I can't handle. I want to write the article about what has been the average slope increase over the last 15 years on golf courses. And the second thing is, to that point, every single company, no matter what you're doing, is trying to improve. Instructors are trying to get better. You're trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. Golf Channel's trying to get better. Everybody's trying to get better, and they do. And what you're doing when you say that stuff is you're telling people don't worry about getting better because it's not going to do any good. Right. You know what? That's just a load of you-know-what. And I'm not buying it. So I don't like those things. That's what I'm inspired about. Rounds are up. Go play golf. Get involved. That's my thoughts.
You heard it. Rounds are up. Go play golf. Get involved. I love it. I love it. Michael, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show today, taking the time out of your busy schedule. And just want to say that you are really doing amazing things for the game of golf. We love watching you on TV, and I think this is cool for people to get to see kind of the behind the scenes of everything else that you're doing and just the passion that you have for it, that it's not just you on the Golf Fix playing for the cameras, but I mean, deep down in your soul, you are a man who loves the game and has truly grown the game. So just want to say a heartfelt thank you from all of us here at 18 Strong and all of your friends in the golf world, and really appreciate you coming on today.
And to that end, Jeff, I appreciate all you're doing and having me on. It's always a compliment when somebody says, hey, will you come on my show? And probably a lot of people just throw thank you around like it's a haphazard thing. But candidly, you know what? I appreciate your time and what you do to allow me to be able to share my thoughts and the way I view life and all that stuff. It just speaks to the thought process that you have put into the questions that you have, and also your listeners, the questions that the people that are watching 18 Strong, they are thinking about questions that are great questions. These are great questions, and I've had a ball doing it, and I'd love to come and do it again. So anytime, let me know. Okay?
You got it. We will definitely take you up on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You got it. I want to thank our special guest, Michael Breed, for coming on the show. It was such an honor to get to chat with him and get to know a little bit more about him and his background. Such an amazing guy who is crazy busy, doing so many different things for the world of golf, traveling all over the place. So, Michael, if you're listening, I want to say thank you one more time. Really appreciate you coming on and continue to do the great work that you're doing. If you want any more information about this episode, any of the notes from the show, just go to 18strong.com/Michael-Breed, or you can look up episode number 134. And don't forget to get your hands on the PGA Tour mobile app for your iPhone, iPad, Android device. It's a very slick app that you can pretty much keep up to date with everything going on the tour. So many different functions and features. Go ahead and do that. And lastly, I want to thank our sponsor, Super Speed Golf. If you want any more information on them, go to superspeedgolf.com and use the code 18Strong. All right, I want to thank you for joining me on the special Masters edition of the 18 Strong podcast with Michael Breed. We'll catch up with you next week with another great guest. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.